All right, welcome everyone to this SAP Community Call. My name is Minina Chao. I'm part of the SAP Community team, your host today. And as you can see, the session is Seamless User Experience Explained with Thomas Rice, our speaker today. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes. You can use the chat for getting in touch with each other, but you can also already raise your questions in the Q&A forum. So you have that button available for you. We will definitely have enough time at the end of this call to address your questions. It will also be possible for you to raise your hand, speak up, and have this an interactive community call. With that, Thomas, I would quickly and simply just hand it over to you to get the session started.
So thank you, Menina. Yes, so welcome here from my side. My name's Tom Rice. I'm the Fury product manager here at SAP, and I'd like to give you an overview of seamless user experience, or as the title says, seamless user experience explained. So what do we mean with it, and what have we been doing? So let's just get started. So a seamless user experience is one of the key qualities customers and their users expect from an intelligent suite, enabling the intelligent enterprise. And in this session, I'll give you an overview of what seamless user experience actually means, and also explain where we stand on the journey to delivering a seamless user experience. So as usual, I'll be talking a little bit also about what we're planning, so not just what we have available. So here's the usual legal disclaimer, because of course our plans can change over time. So let's get started first of all with just two kind of more strategic slides before I come to the actual topic. So, our strategy is to provide comprehensive end-to-end solutions to support you to become an intelligent enterprise so that you can innovate your business running on SAP. And running your business processes end-to-end is key, be they ones supported by applications from the Intelligent Suite or additional industry-specific ones. Integration, of course, is also key, be it with your business partners via the business network or within the suite, ensuring that processes run smoothly from start to finish, no matter how many different products are involved, as if you were using just one system for your entire business. The SAP technology platform, which you see at the bottom, provides the necessary technology and capabilities. One of SAP's strengths has always been integration of applications and processes. And by the way, I didn't say at the introduction, but I've actually been at SAP since 1993, so it's 28 years now. And so we've always had integration as a key strength, giving full transparency into logistics processes, also integrating sales and procurement with manufacturing and delivery, payroll into HR, to banks paying out people's salaries, so really end to end. And we've listened to you, our customers, who requested a similar kind of out-of-the-box integration with a seamless user experience for our Intelligent Suite offering, including partner solutions. And we've made this a cornerstone of our strategy for the intelligent enterprise. To deal with this systematically, we decided to start by focusing on the most important end-to-end processes for our customers: lead to cash, design to operate, source to pay, and recruit to retire, along with their respective sub-processes. For these, again talking to you, our customers, we identified the key qualities customers and their users expect from an intelligent suite, enabling the intelligent enterprise. These are the 7 suite qualities you see here on the slide. With the various involved development units, we defined roadmaps for delivering these suite qualities for these 4 focused business processes, with the aim to deliver significant parts already in 2020 and early 2021 this year. This talk is all about seamless user experience. What does it mean? Which parts have we already tackled? Where do we currently stand on the journey to giving our users a seamless user experience? So let's have a look at seamless user experience. So what does seamless mean? What does it mean to you? Think about it. What does it mean to you? Well, let's first have a look at what the word means before we look at what it means for SAP's user experience. The word actually originates with clothing, without any seams joining 2 or more pieces of cloth. That has 2 key aspects if you think about it: transitioning without a sudden interruption, and without a change, without a noticeable change from one area to the next. So you're going, from one area of cloth to the next without a seam disturbing you. And of course, also there's no change. So from a software point of view, the software interacts in such a harmonious, seamless way that people feel as if they're using a single solution. In other words, if the solution consists of many parts, people can move from one part to the other without interruption or difficulties and without noticing a change. So what does it take to provide a seamless user experience? Consistency is one of the most powerful usability principles. When things behave the same, users don't have to worry about what will happen. And Jacob Nielsen, if you're not familiar with him, he's one of the world's most influential designers, invented many usability methods, has actually 79 US patents, mainly on making the web easier to use. So he really is a reference for design topics. So consistency, one of the most powerful usability principles. So consistency lies at the heart of a seamless user experience. It's the foundation of a seamless user experience. Without it, you can't have a seamless user experience. So that's why we decided that consistency is the first thing we need to address for a seamless user experience for the 4 prioritized end-to-end business processes. We made this a top priority for 2020 and have already made significant progress, as you'll see in a moment. But first, let's have a look at why this needed fixing and the challenges we faced. Over the years, SAP has acquired a number of best-in-class line of business solutions. Each acquired product comes with its own design system and UI stack, adding to the existing ones, resulting in a diverse user experience across our portfolio. For users who only use the one system, this would not be much of an issue. Different products for their daily business demand a consistent user experience across these products. As you can imagine, this is quite a large engineering task, with the various SAP products together having tens of thousands of screens between them. This is why SAP made it a strategic priority to deliver on this starting in 2020. Now, making it a priority is one thing, but we also need a consensus on what the consistent user experience should actually look like. SAP Fury 3 is the agreed upon target design, which evolves the SAP Fury design language for all SAP products to fully support the Intelligent Suite for consistency, intelligence, and integration. The guiding principle we always have with Fury is to focus on the end user to make their work easier. We're on a multi-year journey to get to the full Fury 3 target design, but we have already made good progress and have quite a lot available today. So let's now have a look at which parts are relevant for consistency. We looked at what is most important for users to feel that various UIs are consistent and identified a core set of user experience aspects which need to be provided to achieve this. Visual appearance is an essential part of consistency, so that all the UIs have a similar look. The core visual aspects for these are colors, iconography, and typography. In other words, the visual theme, as well as having a common shell bar at the top of the screen. The Quartz theme, as defined by Fury 3, is our agreed theme to achieve a consistent look. Further aspects like the settings menu, action placement, and terminology of actions, for example, whether to label a button change or edit, contribute to the products feeling similar to one another. Providing these core aspects consistently across our products already contributes to a faster learning curve for users, increasing their efficiency and overall satisfaction. Let's have a look at these core user experience aspects in more detail. This slide gives you a quick overview of the various aspects. The allowed colors for various sections of the screen, including buttons, are defined and together make up the overall theme. Typography defines what all text should look like. The bar appears at the top of each screen and should look the same everywhere. Common iconography and terminology for the most used actions helps to avoid confusion. And finally, being able to access settings in the same place, no matter which application you're using, contributes to a consistent feel, as does a consistent placement of the key actions, along with a consistent terminology for these actions. Now, this image is very schematic. Let's have a look at some more concrete examples from our products. As I mentioned, the SAP Fury 3 theme, Quartz Light, is the agreed theme to achieve a consistent look across our products. Here we see what it looks like for the Fury Launchpad provided by S/4HANA Cloud, and in fact also S/4HANA on-premise or private tenant. It's a lighter and more neutral than previous themes, allowing application content to take the center stage. SAP has also created its own font called 72. Now, most people just take it for granted that text appears on screens, but the way the text looks, the so-called font design, has quite an effect on how people perceive the screens and the content. It can often be quite subtle, but some pages just seem to look nicer than others. And the font is one of the reasons for that, even though the differences can sometimes be very subtle. The 72 font is designed for excellent legibility and accessibility to help users with visual impairments read easier, and supports all the styles and character sets needed for enterprise software. And fun fact, in case you're wondering where the name 72 came from, it refers to the year in which SAP was founded, 1972. Now here you get an idea about why it's so important to align on a common shell header bar, the part of the UI at the top of the screen. As you can see on the left, in the past, each of our products had a shell bar which looked different, the common denominator being that SAP appeared somewhere. As part of the design process for Fury 3, we sat down with all our product development units using Fury 2.0 as a starting point and came to an agreement on what a common shell header bar should look like, which is what you see on the right. The logo replaces the previous home button, we've introduced a navigation menu next to it, and all the product-specific actions are now on the right, such as the user actions menu for accessing settings. Now let's look in more detail at some concrete examples from our products to see how their user experience has become more consistent. So let's start with SAP Concur, our solution for travel and expense management. On the left, you see the Concur start screen or home screen, as it was before we kicked off this consistency initiative. On the right, you see the new planned design, leveraging the common Fury Quartz colors, iconography, typography, and shell bar, as well as the overall theme. Here's an example for the Manage Expenses application provided by Concur. Again, on the left, you see what it looked like beforehand. On the right, the new planned consistent design. Now let's move on to SAP Fieldglass, our solution for managing your external workforce. On the left, you see their previous home screen. On the right, you see the new design. And again, I think you'll see how we are achieving consistency there, or far more consistent than before. Here you see an example for the timesheet from Fieldglass with the previous design on the left and the new one on the right. Let's now have a look at some examples from some of the products which make up the SAP Customer Experience solution. This time, the previous screens are shown on the top and the new ones below. As with the previous examples, you can clearly see we've achieved visual consistency here. Rather than just comparing before and after, let's have a look at the outcome for a few products. Here you see some examples from S/4HANA on the left and examples for SuccessFactors and customer experience on the right. I think this slide is particularly helpful because, as you can see at a glance, they all have the Quartz-like theme applied, as well as the Fury 3 shell header bar. They also have the other aspects covered, such as iconography and typography, at least to a great extent. And you see overall a far more consistent look for all of our products. Now, so far, we've only looked at examples of consistency with Fury for web browsers, showing you screens for desktop or laptop. What about mobile devices like tablets and smartphones? The Fury design system is a very powerful design system with design principles which are independent of technology. The Fury web experience is responsive, so the apps will run also on mobile devices such as tablets or smartphones. However, there are some use cases where people are permanently on the road or away from their desk, and they absolutely rely on the mobile application to get their work done. For example, a maintenance technician who uses the app to plan his day's work, to document each visit, keep track of repairs done, and so on. The app has to be available all the time, even if there is no network connection. A native mobile experience is always going to be better than a browser-based one, and is also needed to support offline work. This is why we introduced additional native mobile design languages to the Fury design system a few years ago, following the Fury design principles, as well as the respective Apple and Android design guidelines. In other words, Apple's Human Interface Guidelines and Google's Material Design. We not only have design languages for iOS and for Android, we also provide powerful SDKs with standardized patterns and controls for business use cases, as well as the SAP Mobile Development Kit, which allows you to code once to produce native apps for both platforms. This way, we not only significantly reduce the time to design apps, we also significantly reduce the time to develop apps, and at the same time ensure that these native mobile apps provide a consistent Fury user experience. While SAP does provide a handful of native apps for select use cases out of the box, many of these always-on-the-go use cases are customer-specific, which is why we invest so much in the SDKs, the MDK, and enablement material, so that you and your partners can easily design and develop mobile apps for your use cases and be confident that you'll be giving your users a consistent user experience. I've talked a lot about consistency so far, which is essential to provide a seamless user experience. But what else does a seamless user experience require? Well, consistency is the foundation, but users want to feel as if they're using a single solution. This means that they also want an integrated user experience, one which gives them one place to access all their applications, with smooth navigation between apps and products, providing common functions like search, inbox, settings, wherever they are. Now, our larger customers often have multi-system landscapes with various back-end systems from SAP, as well as legacy homegrown solutions and third-party products running on-premise. Business users often need to access one or more of these systems for their daily work, as well as accessing other systems for activities as employees or as managers, for example, applying for leave requests or approving them, buying office equipment, or approving such requests. As a result, these customers have requested with high priority a central entry point for their users to access their system, providing more than simply a portal page with links to individual applications. We always listen to our customers and have taken this request very seriously, and I'm pleased to say that we delivered first steps to provide this over the last 6 months with the SAP Launchpad service on SAP Business Technology Platform. With this, you can give your users access to one Launchpad in the cloud, which you can set up to give them access to their apps in SAP S/4HANA systems, as well as selected Business Suite and SuccessFactors applications and third-party applications. Now, since S/4HANA supports hundreds of business roles, each using many different applications, we simplify the setup of the central entry point by providing content federation. With one click, you can expose the Fury Launchpad Spaces and Pages content for a business role from the S/4HANA system to the SAP Launchpad service. From then on, users no longer need to access the local S/4HANA Launchpad. They can access their apps seamlessly by the Launchpad service in the cloud. But that's not all. Content federation is also available for SAP Fury apps built on the business technology platform using Cloud Foundry, as well as for the SAP Enterprise Portal. This is the start to provide an integrated user experience, but we have a far more ambitious vision. The vision we have for an integrated user experience is indeed to make it so that users feel as if they're using a single solution, covering cloud products as well as on-premise or private cloud products. In other words, giving them access to all the information they need in one place with seamless navigation to all their applications. A cornerstone is the central entry point in the cloud, where an employee can access all the apps they need, no matter which product they come from. You see here a design proposal for an employee homepage, giving the user access to SuccessFactors for leave requests, S/4HANA Cloud for their business activities, Concur for managing their travel, and Ariba for self-service procurement. Another aspect is providing apps which collect information from multiple systems and show them to the user in one place. For example, the planned SAP Task Center, which gives users an overview of all their tasks or work items in one place, so that they don't have to log on to multiple systems every day and look into each of the local inboxes. Clicking on an entry in the list will open up the local UI for processing the item in place, in other words, without opening a new window or browser tab. Similarly, further in the future, we aim to provide seamless navigation between products, so that if, for example, you're in an S/4HANA system and you click on a link to an employee, that will take you seamlessly to a SuccessFactors UI in place without opening a new window. So to wrap up, let's have a look at the key takeaways for you. The first key takeaway is about what seamless user experience actually means. In the context of the Intelligent Suite, it means that people feel as if they are using a single solution. Second, consistency is the foundation for a seamless user experience. For that, we've defined core user experience aspects to get a consistent visual appearance across our products, which we started delivering in 2020 and will largely complete this year. Third, a seamless user experience also needs integration. For integration, we started delivering first steps last year with the introduction of the SAP Launchpad service. And finally, a seamless user experience is our vision for the truly intelligent suite. So with that, I'd like to say, open up for questions. We have good time for questions, so I hope we can really get through many of them. And before I open up the Q&A board, let me just show you this slide also. And I believe Manina will put the links here in the chat as well. This slide contains links for more information, especially around user experience. The product page on SAP.com, the Fury topic page in the community is a very rich place to go. And of course, also get questions answered. And we have some additional information also for you. And I do urge you, if you're interested, do have a look at the Open SAP course to get an overview of Fury, for example. Okay, so let me now open up the Q&A panel and see what questions we have there.
Thanks, Thomas, for the presentation. Yes, I have already put some of the links into the chat, but the recording and the presentation slide deck will be made available for everyone that's listening to the recording and wants to get to the links as well. You just need to go to community.sap.com and select events, community calls, which is where you can find the replays with the presentation. Yeah, now we have time for questions. I still want to remind everyone to post your questions in Q&A. Thomas is with us. He's really willing to answer your questions and very interested also what kind of questions you have. It's also possible for you all to raise your hand. That way we can also unmute you if you like. But with that, Thomas, I hand it over back to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Melinda. Okay, so let's start with the first question here from Dale. Do you have any views on the use of white space? Some users like this, others prefer more information density. Guess it also varies by what the user is doing and which device they're using. How do you manage this? Well, that's a good question. And Yes, indeed. With Fury, we've made it responsive so that it can also run on tablets and so on. So of course you have a bit more space. And we've in fact been, as I said, we always listen to customers. We've been doing end user research and found that often for power users, they want to find more information on the screen. It does depend a little bit also on the use cases. So what kind of a user do you have? Is it a more casual user, maybe doing a leave request, or is it a power user day to day, looking at their data? And for that, we do actually have also more concise or compressed, if you like, visualizations. So if you're using financials in S/4HANA, you look at a list of postings, that is actually pretty compressed. There's not much white space there. It's exactly the kind of density that you would expect. So we are aware that there are areas in some Fury apps definitely that have a lot of white space, and that's something we've certainly identified to work on. So yeah, basically, I think we need to make sure we're flexible where the users appreciate a bit more space, then give it to them. Where it's important to have information density, then also provide that. Okay, so let me just scroll up. Next question from Josef. What's the advantage of many systems that feel like a single system rather than one single system? Well, basically, I think it's very simple, just from an architecture point of view and speed of innovation point of view. Of course, obviously, back in the 90s with R3, we had the single system. And then we found that customers, for example, did additions, they had them, of course, on premise. They were then reluctant maybe to upgrade, but of course, then they wanted to, the business wanted very quickly to react and have, let's say, advanced analytics or advanced planning. So all of us, or CRM, and all of a sudden, then kind of best of breed products popped up as extensions to R3, if you like. Of course, then we also started producing our own solutions. That was with the new dimensions back then. Now, of course, we have the cloud solutions. So it's always a little bit of a balance between speed of innovation. Now, of course, if you're in the cloud and you had one big system in the cloud, then of course you could upgrade. But then, of course, the question is also from an architecture point of view, is that really going to work, having it all in one? And of course, these days it's better to have independence there and different speed of innovation. So basically, that's the advantage, to have multiple, if you like, code lines, which can obviously innovate quickly, but still have the integration that you need from a business point of view. Okay, let me continue here. I've got to speed up, I think, getting more and more questions coming in.
Yeah,
there are still some SAP GUI type of transactions like SAP IGS screens, etc., which are not Furitized and not available via SAP GUI for HTML. What is SAP's direction on this? Well, basically, we are, of course, in fact, we are investing more in the SAP GUI for HTML and web input frameworks, so that we can provide a more closer Fury experience even. So not just applying the theme, but also looking at other aspects. In fact, or planning, for example, is even to update the value help, so that the value help for the classic UIs, as we call them, is the same as for Fury. So basically, we are looking at that. Now, of course, there are some technical things. So if there is a transaction that uses ActiveX, for example, then of course you can't get that running in a browser. But we do have, of course, then alternatives that we're working on to get around that. So let me go to the next one. How SAP will ease the content federation from on-prem Business Suite and S4 to cloud Launchpad? Well, basically, I had it on the slide. Actually, we are planning to also provide content federation for Business Suite, and that's planned for Q2 this year. And for S4, in fact, we already have a content federation available. Is this integration strategy and synchronization applies only to cloud products or on-prem as well? Now it does also apply to on-premise, in the sense of like I said, the Launchpad in the cloud, the SAP Launchpad service has this content federation for S/4HANA on-premise. The scenarios I talked about, the 4 end-to-end scenarios, that they do indeed focus on the cloud products. So if we're looking in the context of the Intelligent Suite, that is very much cloud focused. But we are definitely aware of the customers asking us for integration central entry point for their on-premise products. So yes, we support that as well. There are still some, so Rajan's asking, still some SAP GUI type of transactions like, oh no, we've already had that, which are not prioritized. Sorry, we've already covered that one. Dale asked, do you see a role for embedded chat as pull things together, thinking of things like MS Teams and Slack? Now that's a good question. We actually have with S4HANA, we have Copilot, which of course is positioned not only as with embedded chat, but also as a digital assistant with natural language integration. That's being re-engineered at the moment. In S4HANA Cloud, Copilot continues to be available for this kind of integrated chat, embedded chat, and that has powerful features that you can really very easily just immediately on the fly create a screenshot or have the business context, the business objects in your chat, and exchange that with colleagues. So we do see that as playing a role. And of course, obviously, we're looking at the integration with collaboration products like Teams, of course, that these can nicely coexist, because of course there are cases where people are interacting in Teams, and we have obviously you want to have embedded chat as well. So that's certainly something that we're looking at. Okay, so next, Workzone or central portal, which way should we move in greenfield scenario? Good question. Well, actually, it's not really so much an either or, because in fact, if you look at it, you have the Launchpad service in the cloud, which is basically a Launchpad for launching apps from different systems. If you want more than that, like these collaboration features that are in there, kind of a little bit more portal-like, potentially building your own cards and workflows, then you can go for Workzone, which includes the Launchpad service. So the Launchpad service is actually part of the Workzone offering. So really, it's a question of what you want. If you want to mainly to launch applications and give people access to applications, then go for the Launchpad service. If you want that and a lot more, then go for Workzone. What is the direction to replace standard GUI reports to analytical or Fury reports? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think they're basically, we're doing it on a case-by-case basis. So what we're not doing is kind of building, simply looking at an old transaction that's been around for maybe 20 years and just rebuilding it as a Fury app. What we're doing instead is user research to see how are people working these days, what are the things they need, and then building Fury apps to deal with those. So providing additional value. And so step by step, we are, of course, looking at areas where we can provide more analytical insights. We have a lot of very nice analytical list reports, we call them, for example, in S4HANA. And of course, we're also integrating with SAP Analytics Cloud as a good way of providing also analytics, where you can also build your own analysis. So in that sense, we're enhancing, and of course, it's in some places also replacing the ALF GUI reports. But I do expect this is again a multi-year journey. So we'll be continuing, of course, with these ALF GUI reports also for quite a few years in certain areas, but step by step, getting better functionality. Okay, so next, Warren is asking, any plans for Fury 4? And of course, oh, sorry, it's jumping around here. Find it again. And of course, GUI to Fury for create PO, sales order from GUI. Well, basically, at the moment, we're still actually full blown on getting the target design of Fury 3 done. So there's still a lot of stuff there with artificial intelligence, and of course providing more flexibility, having cards, for example, on the screens, and having a perhaps even a more interesting way of supporting you. When you enter, we're actually also working on a mobile, what we call SAP Mobile Start kind of start app as a native app for mobile users. Just checking it, and of course GUI Fury, and yeah, Fury for create purchase order, sales order. So in fact, yes, we are in fact working. We've already released the very first version of a brand new Fury application for creating sales order, which is using the newest OData v4 technology and the OData v4 based Fury elements, and that is looking very promising. And step by step, we're increasing that scope. And so certainly that is very powerful. And also the purchasing side is also working on improved scope. So SAP Task Center is going to replace My Inbox 2.0, isn't it? Adding to the wide range of already available inbox options. What's the usage scenario? Well, basically, the usage scenario of SAP Task Center is simply that if you do, as a user, have to work in more than one system, you don't want to have to always log on to all these different systems and check locally their inboxes to see if you actually have something. And so the Task Center is exactly the idea of the Task Center. Is it runs in the cloud, collects the open task from S/4HANA systems and from other systems in one place. And then in that one place, you can basically then access the My Inbox, for example, from S4, or the other inboxes, for example, from SuccessFactors. So that's basically the usage scenario. So Torsten's asked, what's the SAP recommended go-to front-end technology for implementing Fury design guidelines, UI5, Angular, React, and so on? Well, basically, if you're starting from scratch, then definitely I would recommend actually use UI5, use the Fury elements, use the SAP Fury tools. You can develop with Microsoft Visual Studio or with the Business Application Studio in the cloud, so you've got the choice. You really can choose how you want to do the development. The reason I say that is very simple. UI5 is a powerful framework that has a whole load of controls that all absolutely fulfill the Fury design guidelines, and with Fury elements, you get patterns like these lists and object pages out of the box with accessibility, with all the enterprise features you'd need, right to left support, globalization, and of course also integration into search and all these things. So that, of course, is absolutely, if you're starting from scratch, of course, the way to go. If you've already got a product out there that's built with Angular or React, of course, then you can probably it's not going to be viable for you to try to re-engineer everything. So that's why, of course, we're also looking at how can we have the design guidelines work better there. And of course, one very promising approach is to use the UI5 web component. So there, at least you can have the buttons or the, for example, a date picker, these kind of controls already available to you to embed into your application. Is it possible to use plugins on the cloud Launchpad as we can use on on-prem Launchpad? I would think so, but I'm not a complete expert in all the aspects of the cloud Launchpad, so we'd have to maybe defer that question. It's very difficult for users to distinguish between different FLPs in a system landscape because they all look alike, at least if the customer wants to stay with the standard theme. Will there be an easy way, for example, to display the system ID into the shell bar? Now, that's a good question, and yes, we are actually looking at how can we also provide this kind of system information. So definitely something we're looking into right now. Whether it's in the shell bar, it might also be somewhere else. That's something for us that we're looking at. Okay, so Ravindra's asking, like Inbox with MS Outlook, any plans for G Suite Gmail integration? Good question. Not if we look at the Task Center, I don't think we have that kind of integration planned at the moment. And we are, of course, generally looking at general Office integration, but that's a bigger topic, I'd say. Tobias Hoffman, how many years until Fury 3 is feature complete? Well, that, of course, is a good question. I would think, actually, next year we're going to be pretty close. I mean, one very ambitious part of Fury 3 is indeed having a powerful conversational user experience. And of course, I think there was a lot of hype around that, about what we can achieve with conversational. I think that might take longer to get to, our ambition that we have there. But certainly, I think I would say end of next year, we should be have a fairly complete achievement of what we're aiming with Fury 3.
Thomas, just real quick, we do have 6 or 7 questions. We have in total 2 more
we
minutes.
only have a few more minutes, right?
Yeah.
So do we have some with a lot of votes that we should maybe prioritize?
So if you have a hard stop, then of course we'll need to stop in time and then just see how we can follow up with the remaining questions. Otherwise, it's also the option to finish answering them with the recording, and then when we make the recording available, that would be also a
yeah, we can do that. I mean, I have a
possibility.
few minutes. I've got a little bit of buffer, so to speak. So so here we go. As Fury is getting more and more complex, how is speed of applications developing? Actually, the good news is we're certainly always investing in performance, and that is also getting better with time. So it's we're managing to provide more features and yet still also improve performance. So that's good. Amit is asking if we have to design custom components or layout considering user requirements. Oh, it's jumping here. Sorry. How can we make sure it's alignment with SAP Fury standards and guidelines? What's your view on this? Good question. Basically, if you have to do your own components or layout, I mean, the Fury design guidelines, if you read through them and you have a sort of holistic understanding of what they're trying to achieve, then I think actually, I mean, obviously, you'd have to have a UI design background. Then I think it's fairly doable to sort of understand the gist of what it's wanting to achieve. And I mean, there are quite a few fundamental aspects as well, like grid layout and so on, how to place things, which you can also do for your sort of more freestyle development. So the design guidelines do have a lot of leeway for you to do your own aspects. Is SAP planning to prepare a small microlearnings presentation on the changes, or leave it to SIs to educate the users on new experience? For e.g., a customer just went live with Fury 2.0 design, and next 2 months there's a planned upgrade with Fury 3. There will be substantial OCM efforts involved due to changes like spaces pages for non-power users who barely just understood how to use Fury 2. Yeah, that's a good point. And there are actually, we do in fact have micro-learnings for exactly spaces and pages. So yes, we do that. And by the way, the good news, if you have users getting used to Fury 2, is that we do provide the new spaces and pages at the same time as also the old, if you like, or the classic homepage. So users can switch between them. So they can start using, or they can continue using the existing homepage and then switch to spaces, try it out, and switch back. So they're not being compelled to immediately after the upgrade comes, move to the new approach. Are there already third-party products that can be integrated into the SAP Launchpad service? Yeah, I mean, basically today you can do a manual integration, so that's already possible. And we're planning, and I can't remember if it's Q2 or I think it was Q2, to also have APIs that would support content federation. So obviously that's something more for the future, to have this out-of-the-box integration. So Rajan is asking, similar to SAP GUI for HTML, is there a way to open existing SAP WinGUI T-codes via the Fury Launchpad till the time we get all familiarized? We could do it in SAP Enterprise Portal. Good question. And in fact, first of all, yes, you can actually enter a T-code and find the application very quickly. So that is already possible. And in fact, we are working on providing even better, even faster start of apps immediately by entering a T-code. And in fact, we're looking into also providing shortcuts even for Fury apps, so that if a user memorizes a shortcut, like a T-code, they can not only immediately open up their Fury app, their SAP GUI for HTML, but they could also open up a Fury app that way. Can we use VS Code to develop Fury apps based on RAP model for on-premise HANA? The answer is yes, you can. Definitely. So basically, you can use VS Code with Fury tools and Fury elements, and very rapidly build your applications on top of RAP. And in fact, RAP is exactly what I would recommend for you if you're building the data services in the backend on ABAP. If you're developing in the cloud, then use CAP, the Cloud Application Programming Model. So let me see now.
Questions keep coming in common.
Yeah, the direction. Yeah, but I've already answered some of them actually. Let me see.
Yes, definitely.
Do we have any good user-friendly tool like XD or Sketch to design wireframe with ready dummy components, SAP Fury specific only? Well, yes, actually, definitely. I mean, we provide stencils. So if you go into the design guidelines, you'll find stencils for the various tools. I think actually, XD is Adobe and Sketch. So we provide the stencils to make it really easy for you to design Fury applications. Definitely. So that's why I said that the Fury design system is a powerful design system. It's not just guidelines; it includes stencils, and of course, it also goes into technology, providing the components that we have in UI5. Sorry, I missed the question. What's the direction of standard GUI reports, analytical Fury reports? Yeah, basically, we are step by step, of course, providing more and more analytical functionality in S/4HANA using Fury. We have a lot of embedded analytics and so on. And we're also looking at, of course, integrating, or we have already integrated SAP Analytics Cloud as being an additional way, of course, for getting these kind of reports. So step by step, yes, we are. Is there any analytics solution for FLP usage, e.g. most used apps? In fact, yes, as it happens. I was even looking today at a presentation internally. So for example, we have the early watch service that every customer can access. And they've actually built using Fury, very nice dashboards, which show you the usage and statistics and so on of how your users are using the Launchpad. So that's definitely available. Which tool would you suggest for design mockups? Build me with stop soon. Actually, what seems to be very popular now, in fact, is Figma. That seems to be very popular. I mean, otherwise, of course, obviously Sketch has been used a lot. I'm not really a designer myself, but those are probably the ones to look at. Is there any decision matrix or flow diagram when to use Fury elements and when to use freestyle application? Well, what I can say there is, I mean, do have a look at some of the material in the community on Fury elements. Basically, it's a question of the use case. Does the Fury elements use case fit? If you can kind of extend Fury elements with your own code. So of course that can also fit. But if you realize that you're going to have to do a lot of that kind of extensions, and you end up, a huge amount of additional coding to somehow bend the Fury element to fit your use case, then you're definitely not doing the right thing. Then you should, do a freestyle application. Regarding that, perhaps I should also do a little bit of advertising. We are planning later this year, in the next few months, I think it is, so maybe summertime, to come out with a new open SAP course on Fury elements to go through with hands-on examples, hands-on training for you. So do have a look at that when it comes out. How to open multiple screens in Fury Launchpad, like the /O option in SAP GUI. Well, basically, it's very simple. It's because it's browser-based, right mouse button on a link, and then open in new window or open in new tab. That's the way to do it. Okay, I think managed to answer all of them, right?
Yes, you did. You nailed it. This was a question marathon. I think congratulations for this, and thank you very much for your time presenting on the
seamless user experience. Yes.
And of course, thank you to all attendees raising all those great questions, dialing in from all over the world that we definitely saw in the chat. Thank you so much. The recording and slide deck will be made available. I really recommend you to check out community.sap.com/topics, where you can find the topic pages for SAP Fury and also for the SAP integration strategy. You can also, of course, follow Thomas. He's always publishing blog posts, staying you up to date with the latest information that you need to know. So thank you very much again.
So good luck then on your Fury journey. And goodbye from me then.
Goodbye.